G'day YouTube, Max right here, and a little bit of carnage in the markets today. The last few days, Bitcoin down several $1,000s, got all the way down to 56 and a half today. It's the lowest we've seen in quite a while, several weeks at least. You can see here. So just wanted to get into the markets, take a look around, see what we're seeing, wondering if this is the bottom, if it's not, what's the on-chain analysis telling us, and so let's get to it. If you like this stuff, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. So let's go, we'll take a look at Bitcoin here. Let's just zoom in on the price here for a second. And you can see that here was the previous lower low, and we've clearly broken that. So this downtrend has broken that. We've gone a lower low. And just how low can this go? Well, the answer is there's no answer to that. It can go as low as possible. But let's look at some of the information that we typically care about. Number one, there's this line coming through here. This is the 21-week moving average. Just so you know, it's at about 47,500. Got this upward sloping trend line here. If it does get that low, which does kind of coincide with that 21-week moving average, which is kind of interesting to pay attention to. By the way, I'm not saying I think it's going to go down below 50, but just trying to look at like, okay, where is it going to find support? Now it is in a support range right here. So this this price range that we're in, which it's already bounced off a little bit, but we need to see candles close to confirm. But we can see that this whole period, which represented the top in April, May, it's in that period now, bouncing off of that. So that's a really interesting thing to note. So, you know, a good possibility that this is perhaps the low. Let's go and take a look at some on-chain stuff. So two of the ones I like to look at, the RSI. We have the RSI down here below. It's this purple range, which I have mapped out. And the green is on the cusp of. The green is the MFL, money flow, and it is on the cusp of going down. You'll see both of these indicators are in downtrends. Hasn't been reversed yet. And so, but I do want to point out, when these two indicators, and then you've got the stochastic, you add to that as well, when these, all three indicators are below these purple range, they're oscillating indicators, right? They go up and down. We care when all three of them are below the purple, it's typically a very good buying signal. So you'll see here back on the 21st of September, we have the RSI below, we have the money flow below, and we have the stochastic RSI below. And what do you know? It was, you know, the best time to buy in the last kind of 3-4 months, right? That represented this low. If we go back to the previous time that we had all three indicators, 1, 2, 3, below their purple, it represented the best possible time to purchase over the course of like pretty much the whole year, I believe. Did it? Yeah, maybe just in the beginning of January, you might have got a better price. So, you know, when all three of these things are saying everything is oversold, that's a pretty good time to jump in. So we've just had this nice dip. So if you're the buy the dip kind of person, everything's kind of screaming, go for that at the moment. I'll give you some contrary indicators in a minute, but these technical indicators are saying this is a pretty good time to buy. But let's go, well, consistent with this theme is the on-chain analysis. Just a couple little bits. So Willy Woo, he says, I think I'll call this one buying the dip. Now what he's referring to is this is his buying heat map. When these things, the blue circles are suggesting that it's a good time to buy. The bigger the blue circle, the more. Red circle, time to sell. Okay? And this is all on-chain analysis, right? And so we've posted 2 consecutive pretty big blue dots. So that's saying that. Also, I know there's been more. There's been a big uptick in the last kind of 24 hours. In fact, let me click on this. I think that will tell the story. Large uptick in supply moving to entities with little selling history today. Now, this tweet was like 12 hours ago. In other words, strong hands are buying this dip. So if we go back to our chart here, let's pull up the price a little bit. So on this pretty big healthy candle, there was strong hands buying that dip. We don't have the data yet, but I suggest strong hands are going to be buying this dip too. So we've got on-chain analysis saying that it's a really good time to buy. We have several of our key technical indicators saying it's a good time to buy. But what's the contrary story? Well, I'll give you, there's one big piece, and I warned you about this many, many times. Let's go to the DXY. You'll remember I said, so the DXY is a dollar strength index, right? The higher it is, the stronger the dollar. And you'll notice that we were trading in this range. I talked about it a lot, and I said this line of resistance is very, very important. Once we break through that, really we should see the dollar strength climb all the way to the top of this yellow line here, 97.9. Now, we've only halfway through that journey. By the way, notice this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days notice you've got. I must have spoken about this in about 4 or 5 videos. When this line breaks, we should expect all the markets to suffer, which is what we've seen. Dow Jones, Bitcoin, cryptos, all of it suffering. And this gave us a 5 days head start, right? I told you about this several times, but we are only halfway through the journey, right? So I think the TA on this chart tells us that DXY has got further to go. And if that goes further, we would expect cryptocurrencies, the markets, and everything else to suffer a little bit more. When the dollar strengthens, all of the other markets kind of suffer. That's how that works. So this is a big red indicator for me, not necessarily to jump in right this moment. There's a lot of things saying it's a good idea to jump in. I've just gone through all of those. But this one is saying, hold your horses. This could get tricky. So we always just want confluence. The more things that tell us to take action, the more confident we are in taking that action. So we've got a lot of things saying, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. This one is a pretty big one, and it's saying, hold your horses. So medium term, I think we're probably close to a bottom here, but certainty is not particularly high because of this red flag right here on this DXY chart. Let's see what else we want to talk about. There was something, oh yeah, that was the DXY. There was something else I wanted to share with you, which was, I wanted to point out Rune. I know we've got a lot of guys who like Rune here. I really like Rune. And I just noticed that Rune was at the bottom of this beautiful channel here. We've got 1, 2, 3, just about to bounce off this bottom of the channel. I wanted to draw your attention to that because this could be a really, really good buy here. And I'll show you why. So I talked about this in a previous video. This is an ascending shrinking wedge, right? And it is a bearish pattern, meaning when the wedge is shrinking, meaning it gets narrowing, it's an indication there's going to be a reversal, which is what we saw. This wedge is an expanding wedge, and that's an indication the trend is going to continue. So if you were to buy this at the bottom of this trend, and then just probabilities, there's no guarantees in life, at the bottom of this trend, and then it was to head up and then break through this wedge, we could see the Rune price skyrocket significantly. So it might be a really good idea to keep your eye on this Rune price. See if you catch a bounce off here, maybe put a limit in order in there. Just an idea to play with, something for you to consider. So yeah, tell me what you're going to do in the comments. Is this a buy the dip situation? Are you buying right now? Have we already hit the bottom? It hit what did it hit? 56.5. But we're already up to, let's go back to it. We're already up to here nearly 58. So have we hit the bottom already, or is there more to go? Are you waiting for another price? Do you think it will get all the way down here to these kind of indicators, this upward sloping trend line, the 21-week moving average? Can it get down that low? And remember, during this period, we reported on it that once we broke through this area, we expected it to go through this one very quickly because there was very little resistance here. And that's exactly what we thought, what we saw. It just went straight through. Remember, but the reverse is also true. If we crash down below this important resistance area here, then what we'll do is we would expect it to crash all the way through here. So if you are buying, I would be conscious of where you're going to place your stop loss because you don't want to ride it all the way down to here. So some things to consider. All right, guys, hope that was helpful. Go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you soon. Take care.